Okay, so this is going to be just a quick video on how to create data tables, graphs, and plots using Google Classroom, Google Drive, and more specifically Google Sheets, which is Google's Excel equivalent. If you're going to start from your own blank sheet, you want to start off in Google Drive, and you can click on New Document, and it should pull down a drop-down tab with all types of options, including more options as well. Google Drawings can be very useful for lab diagrams and things like that. But today what we're going to do is look at entering data and plotting data in Google Sheets. So we'll go ahead and click that to open up a new sheet. Now you should see this looks very, very familiar to Microsoft Excel. If you have any experience with it, it will be very familiar to you. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to just set up a simple data table for the introductory lab to the general physics class. What I'm going to do is just create some column titles and trial titles just so that we have a nice organized set of data. I'm going to put in 0, 0 as my initial drop height. Even though we didn't run trials from there, obviously the time to drop from 0 centimeters would be 0 seconds. And then I'm going to continue to add in the drop heights that we used, starting at 0.25 meters, 0.5 meters. And then the nice thing about Excel and Sheets is that if it starts to notice a trend, you can highlight that and drag down, and it'll copy all of the trial heights using the same distance intervals. Now what you see here is we have our data all reported at different decimal places. So to make this look uniform, what we are going to do is to use these two buttons here, either to decrease the decimal places or increase the decimal places. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so it shows the level of precision that we should have been using in the lab. Now I'm going to enter 0, 0 for times 1, 2, and 3 for a 0 drop height. Again, obviously 0 time to fall 0 meters. And again, we will adjust the decimals. Okay, I'm going to pause the video now and fill in the data so that it doesn't take up too much time, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've entered data into the table. It's okay if your data doesn't follow the same trends as this does. Again, the collection in this lab was fairly inaccurate using the stopwatch with reaction time and everything like that. But as long as you have entered the data and you've got information for the drop height, time 1, 2, 3, and the average time that you've calculated, that's all that we're going to need. From here, if you want to, you can do things that clean it up, make it look nicer. However you want to do that. You can center the data in your columns. Again, here we can adjust it so that we have the same number of decimals shown in each of the columns. Things like that. You can put borders around the whole selection if that's something that you're interested in. Anyways, moving forward, what we need to do now that we have our data is to plot the data. In order to do that, we need to be very careful about which of the columns we are pulling in order to plot the data. So what I'm going to do is actually create a new spreadsheet to copy our data to, from which we will make our data graphs, our plots. Okay, so down here in the lower right hand corner, there's the plus sign for the add sheet. And I'm going to go back to sheet 1. And for the graph that we want to do on this lab, we want to plot time across the x-axis, and we want to plot our drop height up the y-axis. How far down did it fall versus how long did it take? Okay. Now Sheets and Microsoft Excel all treat data the same way. When you do a scatter plot, which is what we'll be doing, it looks at two pieces of information in cells next to each other and uses that as an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate, just like an ordered pair, like you'd see in an algebra class. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first copy the average time values, because that's what we want on our x-axis. We're going to copy them, move over to sheet 2, and we don't have to worry about data titles here or anything like that. We're going to paste them. Now be careful if you use any formulas, which I did in this particular data table, is that you want to paste the values only. And we see we get a little bit of messed up formatting, which we can adjust here with the increase and decrease decimals. Okay, so these are my times. These are my x-coordinates. I'm going to go back to sheet 1 and grab my heights. This is going to be my y-coordinate. So I can copy, move over to sheet 2, and again, paste values. And we'll adjust it so that everything looks consistent. Okay. Now here's where we actually make the graph. What we're going to do is recognize that each one of these is an ordered pair, an x value and a y value. So we're going to copy both sets of data. We're going to go up here to Insert. Insert is going to allow us to put a chart into our graph that displays the data. And there are a lot of options for the different types of charts that you can put in. There's pie charts and bar graphs and things like that. But in our class, more often than not, we're going to want to use a scatter plot. And that's where it really does treat these two sets of data as ordered pairs, as an x value and a y value. So we select the scatter plot, and we can go to the customization tab here that allows us to make it look nice. Okay, what we're going to do is scroll down. We can give the chart a title, something like drop height times. We scroll down the customization. Okay, we can give a title to the horizontal axis. If you remember, that was our time, and it was measured in seconds. Okay, and there's more options here that we can get into later on, but just being an introductory video here, we're just going to keep it simple. The last thing I want to do is at the very bottom here is add a trend line. Now what you'll notice here is that the data points are showing a curve up instead of a straight line up. So what I'm going to do is in the trend line section, I am going to select the polynomial trend line. If it looked like it were a linear relationship, I'd select linear. But in this case, a curved relationship, we're going to go with polynomial. And the last thing I want to do under the trend line label is to use the equation of that graph. Go ahead and select the equation. And what it does is it puts that equation for our data. It gives us our relationship for our data right there in the graph itself. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say Insert, and it puts our graph right there on page 2, or sheet 2 of our data sheet. At this point, the nice thing about Google is that as you work in it, it's constantly saving your changes. It's all stored in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about losing your progress or anything like that. So this is what I would expect you to do for this first lab. I will be sending out a Google Classroom assignment that has a blank sheet ready for you to start entering your data, and you'll be submitting that to me through Google Classroom. Thank you.